Hello, this is Chris again. I'm one of the software designers for WM-Dict 2, and today I want to highlight some new functionality that WM-Dict 2 has, specifically the full recall integration. First of all, I'd like to describe some of our design goals with the 2.0 version of WM-Dict. One is we wanted to redesign the user interface to expose more functionality. The first version of WM-Dict had a lot of functionality, but some of it you had to kind of find for yourself. So we moved to a tab interface to make it a little easier to find the information and the functionality within the application. A second design goal, and actually this was an original design goal from the first version, but we've made a lot of improvements, is for fast searching. It's very important for us that WM-Dict is instantly responsive. And it seems like we've accomplished that. It doesn't seem to matter how many dictionaries you have available or enabled in WM-Dict, the response is almost instantaneous. The third point is flashcard integration, and this is basically a language learning technique. I want to describe that a little bit further for you, and that's the primary goal of this video. Flashcard integration. What does that mean? Well, flashcards are a language learning technique where you see a question. Maybe the question is a word in a foreign language, and mentally you test yourself. Do you know what the word means or not? And then you tell the software to let you see the answer, and then you see if you actually knew it or not. And you grade yourself. Did you remember the word? Did you really remember the word? Did you only kind of remember the word, or you didn't remember at all? Your score basically determines when you're tested again on that. Well, we found a great piece of software called FullRecall, and it is available at FullRecall.com. Let me show that to you. You can go to FullRecall, and you can actually go to the downloads page and download it. Now, they have a Windows, Macintosh, and Linux client, as well as a Windows mobile client. The application is not expensive, and it's well worth purchasing. And what's nice is that the Windows mobile version is available at no cost. So if you're not going to use it on the desktop and just your Windows mobile device, then it's not going to cost you anything. You just need to go download and install it. FullRecall, as described here, is a software that can help you memorize the knowledge for lifelong periods with the minimum time investment. Underlying artificial neural network gradually grasps your forgetting curve to schedule optimal days for the reviews, days when you will be close to forgetting an information. Let me translate what that basically means. FullRecall uses a technique where you don't see the same cards every day, the same flashcards every day. You see them spaced out. So let's say you have a brand new flashcard today, and you score yourself, and then FullRecall says, you know, they need to see this card again tomorrow. Or it might say they don't need to see this card again for 2, 3, 4, or many days in the future. And the idea is that FullRecall spaces when you see a card so that you're not always testing on the same words. So really it's quite an effective way to learn. It's using an incremental learning approach, and I've used it in my own language learning process for 1.5 years, and it's very useful in vocabulary. Let me show you now WM-Dict in action in cooperation with FullRecall. First, let's bring WM-Dict up, and let's look up a word. We're going to look up the word water. And here we see the translation. Now, if you want to turn this into a flashcard, what you want to do is bring up the context menu by holding your stylus down, and then you should see Create Flashcard. Now, Create Flashcard does not appear unless you've enabled support for flashcard integration, and I'm going to show you how to do that a little bit later, but for now we can see that it's enabled. So Create Flashcard, and it pulls up a screen with a question and an answer, and WM-Dict breaks up that definition, so the term water and the possible ways to say water in Chinese. And you can edit this however you want. So you might want to add some text here. And you might want to eliminate some other factors, and basically you can do whatever you want here. When you click Save, that's going to add it into the FullRecall database for future testing. Let's hit save. And now let's go into Pocket Full Recall. Pocket Full Recall has what it calls a queue. Add items from a queue. And a queue is basically cards you've created, but you're not ready to start testing on them yet. And this is how WM-Dict integrates with Pocket Full Recall. It adds new terms that you've created in WM-Dict into your queue. So when you want to start using those terms for testing, you start Pocket Full Recall and you say add items from queue. Click on that and you can see water. It's a noun. And here's where you test yourself. How well do you remember this term? When you click OK, you see the answer. And by the way, you can also adjust the font settings here to make it a little easier to read on your mobile device. Lowest and 5 being the highest. Basically 0 means you have no recollection whatsoever of how to translate this term. 5 means you basically know the term, you've mastered it. And somewhere in between indicates a different score. 3 is basically I know the word, but I still need to practice it a little more frequently. 4 is I really know the word, but I'm not quite 100% there. And 2 and 1, of course, are lesser than that. So you grade yourself, and it's very important that when you grade yourself, you're honest. Don't grade yourself low or high. Really grade yourself on your knowledge of this word, because Pocket Full Recall takes that score and it schedules the next time you should see this word in your testing process. And the more honest you are, Pocket Full Recall learns through time how you learn. And it will space when you see words appropriately. So, for example, I might say, yes, I know this word pretty well, but not so great. So I'm going to say 3, and that tells Pocket Full Recall when to schedule it next. And that's it. Now you can see add items from queue is empty. I'm going to shut Pocket Full Recall down and go back into WM-Dict. Let's add another word. Let's add the word welcome. Again, pull up the context menu, create flashcard. And I'm just going to clean this up here. I'm going to simplify the card. And interestingly, you might notice there's a little checkbox up here called swap. When you turn this on, what WM-Dict is going to do is it's actually going to create 2 flashcards inside Pocket Full Recall. You're going to have a card just like we had before, welcome, with the answer, but it's also going to create another card where it swaps the answer with welcome. That way you can test both ways. Okay, how do I translate from English to Chinese, and how do I translate from Chinese to English? Let's click Save. And now I'm going to go back into Pocket Full Recall. And you can see in the queue there are now 2 items waiting. So add items from queue. Oh, I see the English translation, or the English word, the Chinese translation. Again, I score myself. And now the queue goes to the next. Now I see the Chinese, and I score myself again how well I know it in English. And when I'm done, the queue is back to 0. Let's exit out of Pocket Full Recall. A few things to keep in mind here. Some users use this differently. For example, they add new flashcards and instantly go to Pocket Full Recall and add them into the queue. Personally, what I do is I go about my day's activities. I add new words that I need, that I learned during the day. I create flashcards from them. And in my personal database, I always have 30 or 40 words sitting in my queue. And when I have time to do vocabulary building, I go and I add some from a queue. I try to add anywhere from 4 to 5 new cards into my vocabulary every day. So the idea is, hey, keep adding cards as new words that you want to learn, words that are important, and Full Recall will just remember them and they'll sit in the queue until you're ready to add new words. So it really depends on how you want to test, but there's different ways to approach it. The beautiful thing here is when you're using WM-Dict to look up translations for words and you come across words that you really want to know, now you can instantly put them into your flashcard program, in this case Pocket Full Recall, and Pocket Full Recall will test you in a very intelligent way after that. I'm going to give you a few tips in this regard. First, have trust in Pocket Full Recall. It uses a special algorithm to space the learning process. And at first, you may not feel like you're really improving your vocabulary or however you're using Pocket Full Recall to retain memory, but you have to stick with it. I promise you that after about a month of use, you'll begin to see the benefit of Pocket Full Recall, because what it's trying to do is it's trying to test you on new vocabulary only when you really need to be tested on it. So the idea is it spaces it out slowly for you, and you're not constantly drilling on the same cards day after day. You're only drilling on the cards that you really need to see, and the better you know the card, it'll be longer again before you see that card in the future. And it allows you to focus on what you really need to focus on today. Now, the second thing I'm going to tell you is more than just a tip. It's very important. You may have noticed every time I went into Pocket Full Recall that I shut it off after I was done. Right now, Pocket Full Recall does not allow you to add to the queue if it's running. If you use WM-Dict while Pocket Full Recall is running to add new cards, you lose those cards. And this is a problem that we're working with the developer of Pocket Full Recall. But basically, the interim solution is when you're done with Pocket Full Recall, turn it off. And then just use WM-Dict as normal, add new cards, and then when you're ready to test, go into Pocket Full Recall and use it. But very important, shut down Pocket Full Recall when you're not testing or adding new items from your queue. A third point here is, let's go back into Pocket Full Recall. Pocket Full Recall is it's a program in itself, so you don't have to just use it with WM-Dict. You can actually come in here and click Add New Items, and you can create a new card. This is my question. This is my answer. And you give yourself kind of a default score. I don't know this at all. And when you're done, you hit stop. And now I just created a new card, and it's part of the daily testing process. Another thing you see here is go through scheduled reviews. And this is where you come back every day and you review words that you've added into your card list earlier. So as you can see, WM-Dict and Pocket Full Recall make the language learning process a little better. It's fairly seamless integration. We've been using this now for quite some time, and it's just a great way to rapidly build your vocabulary, but to do so in a really smart way. Let's now take a minute to look at the installation process. I'm going to assume that you have successfully installed WM-Dict and it's working just fine. If you want to use Full Recall, you have to install it separately. We don't ship Full Recall. It's not actually our software. Go to the FullRecall.com website, select Download, and you should see a list of available platforms. You want to select the for Pocket PC, and then if you scroll down, you'll actually see the download link. And basically, you want to follow the instructions that are on this page for getting it installed on your device. So that's the first step. Download Pocket Full Recall and install it on your device. And now I want to show you how to configure Full Recall and WM-Dict to work together. They're two separate programs, and we're just communicating between them. So you need to set it up correctly for all this to work. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into Full Recall itself, the Pocket Full Recall Edition, and select File, Settings. And you'll see here the database path. And right now it's My Documents Full Recall DB. This path is very important for you to remember. And coincidentally, you can actually put the Full Recall database anywhere you want by changing this path. So this is where Full Recall's dictionary or database is. Let's now go into WM-Dict. And we're going to tell WM-Dict how to find that database that Full Recall uses. Select Menu, Settings, and then you want to select the FR or Full Recall tab. So the first thing we need to do is enable Full Recall integration. So that tells WM-Dict we are going to use Full Recall. And the next very important is Full Recall Q text file path. This is where Full Recall stores its information, so we need to tell WM-Dict where that is. So let's select this button here, which pulls up a file browser, and we can now navigate My Documents, Full Recall DB, and we see q.text. This is a very important file. This is where WM-Dict pushes in new flashcards and FullRecall pulls new flashcards from this file. So we use this file to communicate with both programs. Let's click Select File. And now basically we have the basic setup in place and we just need to click Save. We can also turn on QA swap here and assign a shortcut key for FullRecall flashcard support. For now we'll just leave it enabled and our file settings. Click Save. That's basically all you need to do to make WM-Dict speak with FullRecall.